Okay, thanks for coming. So this is session 2 of our operations track. My name is Paul Atkins. I'm one of the account managers in the UK and Ireland team, and I'm going to be hosting this session. Okay, the session we've called Aberdeen and Deloitte, a partnership in risk reduction. This is going to be a customer success story. Okay, we're going to talk through what we've done within the Aberdeen Group subscription over the last few years, how we progressed and developed their cybersecurity program, and shown what we've done with the tooling and ultimately the success that we've had in it. So I'm joined on stage by Andy from Aberdeen and Lucy from Deloitte. Yeah, perfect. So I'm going to sit down. Excellent. So I guess, Andy, if you just introduce yourself to the audience.
Yep, will do. Hi, I'm Andy Hubbard. I'm Cyber Defence Lead for Aberdeen Group, and yeah, we're big users of Qualys. Been working with Paul for 2 years or so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, hi everyone. Lucy Williamson, manager within the Deloitte UK firm. Predominantly sort of within cyber operate MSSP space and vulnerability management. 6 years client experience before joining Deloitte and switching over to the consultancy side of things. So got a bit of perspective on both client side and partners who sell it.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So I guess, Andy, for the audience, you guys started your journey by, you used to come through SecureWorks, which were like an MSSP for ourselves, a very limited service that they offered. Can you obviously just tell the audience like that journey that you came on from? You came over from SecureWorks to like through Deloitte as a partner, but to where you are now, I guess, just a very...
Yeah, sure. So yeah, we started off with a fairly basic version of Qualys. Weren't really aware of the full functionality we could get. We were just using it for producing CSV type reports to hand out to tech teams. It was a process, not a particularly mature one. Got in touch with Qualys directly and realized actually this tool could do a lot more than we were using it for. And very quickly we got VMDR, then we moved to introduce CSAM, and then with Deloitte on board we've pushed forward. We've now got patch management, policy compliance, and total AppSec.
Yeah.
The name I forget.
Okay, excellent. Yeah. And I guess, Lucy, on that journey that we came through, how were Deloitte involved in that and able to support Aberdeen? Because it was quite a transition from, like you say, looking at CSVs, like to try and prioritize through there to what VMDR and CSAM had offered them in the first instance.
Yeah, so I think obviously helps that Deloitte is sort of got quite a great relationship across the board within Aberdeen. So we're involved in other services just wider than vulnerability management and also all the way up to sort of C-suite level. So having conversations around, you know, strategy and how that would then influence us looking at like how to make the tools and evolve the tool set, that sort of conversation was better had because we can almost, you know, give the people the industry insights, sort of see where we're doing things differently. And then it sort of helps your conversations with, you know, we want to sort of move this tool and expand here. So that's sort of where we helped.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That support of the senior management, I guess, for any customer in the security program is essential. And Deloitte were able to influence the C-suite in there with obviously that industry knowledge and customer knowledge across there. I guess, Andy, like once we obviously got VMDR and CSAM embedded and you started seeing the value in them products, we then started looking at where the weaknesses were within your sort of environment. You know, I guess in terms of the size, they've got about 25,000 assets globally across there. So it's quite a large, and Andy's team is very small, as most cybersecurity teams are. I mean, I'm sure you can understand that. But we looked where you had a specific weakness in the patch management tool to support you in there.
Yeah, the patch management tool is very useful we use it to target third-party applications that not necessarily easy to target using traditional SCCM, or if you've got packaged apps, so you can't update them directly. And we work hand in hand with our IT team. Yep. So we're not throwing vulnerabilities over the fence and saying fix that. And we're also not stepping on toes. We work hand in hand and go, right, we can fill in a gap here. where you're struggling to patch like Chrome or Adobe,
Yeah.
or even the more obscure apps that fewer individuals download, but they get missed, and the patch management tool is very good for that, and obviously allows you to do more than just patch. You can remove it, you can change it. So yeah, it's a very handy tool.
Yeah. And it's fair to say that within that sort of operating system, you use that as a suite like exercise as well. So can you just sort of elaborate on
sure.
that?
So where you've got scheduled patching, for instance, and you're trying to maintain your estate at N-1 minimum for Microsoft patches, and there'll be a subset of devices that don't pick up the patch for whatever reason. So we've got a job running in patch management, which looks for things going to N-2, just pushes the patch to those. So again, you're using the tagging, you can target a set of devices and asset group, and then obviously using a little bit of logic in QQL to decide whether they're out of date enough that they get hit by Qualys.
Excellent. And the purchase of patch management, there wasn't just budget there for it, was there? It wasn't
had
like
to make the case.
And I guess that's a point to make. Aberdeen haven't got bottomless pockets. You know, there's not a huge amount of money there. They're making sacrifices, so they consolidated another tool to be able to spend that budget on what would benefit them. Do you want to just?
Yeah, so we were initially using another tool as a layer on top of Qualys to provide the prioritization and the dashboarding. And once we were able to demonstrate that actually natively Qualys does that as well, if not better than, we could remove that tool, which then freed up budget to be pushed towards getting the patch management.
Yeah. And I guess a question to yourself, Lucy, how were Deloitte involved in them discussions? Because like you say, obviously companies are reluctant to move tooling, you know, but I guess if it's not getting the value, were the Deloitte team, able to influence the sort of decision makers within then to say, well, you're not getting value?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing around sort of Deloitte and Aberdeen's relationship is that it's, you know, we've been there for quite a while. We have a trusted relationship where, you know, Andy can come to me to soundboard things. I'm not going to be someone who's like trying to hard sell. It's not like a transactional relationship we have. So I think, you know, understanding sort of what you want to do, I can then speak with the wider team and, you know, all the way up to senior C-suite level people, that we can sort of understand how can we get this messaging across, that this is what's needed at the sort of boots on the ground level, and sort of how do we push that narrative to the C-suite level. So we kind of had strategy calls and sort of understanding roadmaps of sort of where things were changing, and just to be able to sort of help fuel those conversations.
Yeah, and I guess that's the same in, obviously you moved away from the third-party tool that we're not going to name, but that had a different risk metric and moved over to true risk scoring. Again, that is like an institutional change, you know, for reporting metrics up the stack. So like, obviously your influence at that level, Deloitte, were they able to say that this is how the industry's moving, you know, that these are metrics that we should be working towards?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think having, you know, Deloitte is a massive name. We have a lot of different clients all over the world, but I think something that we definitely do use through the firm is the industry insights globally so I'm predominantly financial services with retail background as well, but financial services across the world that's able to sort of pull in to see, right, okay, this is a trend that we're definitely seeing, and, you know, pulling that information in from other people, having conversations with CISOs, COOs, understand how was it taken, what evidence do we need to sort of support those, and then obviously feeding that back through Aberdeen.
Yeah, excellent. So I guess, Andy, like, did you want to say like what your risk score looks like? You know, where have we come from and what are you now currently looking at?
Yeah, so initially when we started consolidating the tooling and improving our processes around using Qualys, we were around about 600 on the true risk. On average, obviously, there's that nice kind of sawtooth of Patch Tuesday every month, but that's where we're sitting. We're now sitting about 350.
Yeah.
So that's a significant drop. And again, it's a good story to have with your IT partner as well, because you're able to say to the board, you know, the patching is improving, things are getting down, the tech teams are then getting the feedback that they're actually doing a good job in keeping the risk down. So it helps meld that together as well.
Yeah, and I guess any of yous out there who, obviously in the cyber teams, that relationship with infrastructure, the guys doing remediation, the wider teams is hugely important to like any success in there. And because we've seen such progress in there, the guys doing infrastructure were, like when we did POC, patch management, fully on board with that. When they went through it, they've seen, actually, this is like really easy, you know, and like I say, those metrics have gone up all the way to the top, and that feedback's come back into their teams. And like I say, they're like enjoying that moment, you know, that they're getting, we're doing a good job and we're continually progressing. Cool. So I guess the next step is like, you've just renewed for like in March, okay, and you've purchased like policy compliance and also total AppSec.
Yeah.
I guess around policy compliance, why? Why was it the right time for you guys at Aberdeen to start looking at compliance and hardening?
So one of the big drivers is obviously DORA. Everybody needs to start to attest to their compliance in a manner that fits with the DORA framework. So policy compliance module does that very well, straight out of the box. Again, working with our infrastructure guys and the end user device support teams, they were very keen on the policy compliance module because as well as allowing them to track against CIS or other frameworks, they can also take a golden image and build a policy as a host-based policy off of that.
Yeah.
That one function alone, you know, put that under their nose and they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And it, again, as you were saying, it reduces their workload, it's much smoother, and it becomes more of a hand-in-hand kind of partnership there. So.
Yeah, excellent. And Deloitte were able to support you through that.
Yeah.
And obviously, I guess, did you reach out to Deloitte? Are we ready for that? Are we mature enough to, like, sometimes that question around policy compliance within a VM space is, are we mature enough to start doing that, or are we still chasing numbers and risk scores? And reached out to Lucy for that.
Yeah, very much so. The conversation with Lucy, bouncing back and forward, working out just the balance of things, what's going to work best for us. So again, that's where it's very useful to have a good partner that can actually help you through that rather than you're just blindly trying to purchase a tool. Yeah.
And I guess, right, as much as it would be really lovely for him just to believe me, like the unscrupulous like salesman, you need to be by. They can invest in Deloitte, who are invested in their estate, to obviously give that reassurance that, yes, this is the right tool for Aberdeen and to move forward. So obviously we're starting on that compliance journey. Obviously the policy compliance scoring now feeds into true risks, so we're picking up mitigating controls. Again, we're just working to lowering that within the appetite of within Aberdeen. Excellent. Total AppSec?
Yeah, similar story. We're kind of dipping our toes in that at the moment. We've got a few licenses to look at some of our key web apps. The main driver for this is it reduces our need to retest in a pen test or to do cyclical pen tests. We've now got a 365 days a year view of our key apps, and then we'll potentially look to expand that out to the other web-facing applications we have once we've built up the processes around who we push the remediation to.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. I mean, we're coming to the end of the session now. I'll just sort of summarise, obviously, what we've done at Aberdeen, and with the help of Deloitte. We've come a long way in the security programme in quite a short space of time. We've obviously had the support of like the senior management within the team, which has been great. I guess just to reaffirm, Aberdeen haven't got, they're not just spending money, which I know you'll be sitting there going, well, we don't have budget for this. In terms of like they consolidated tools and removed something that they weren't getting any value out of. For the policy compliance, we've looked at their estate. They had a small amount of budget, but not enough to cover what they needed. They then like reduced VMDR licenses and CSAM because they just, like when they moved over, had purchased too many. So I guess it's about being creative, and that's what Aberdeen and Deloitte, with Deloitte support, have done. We've been creative, using the money and the budget that they've got within their teams to get an improved cybersecurity program. Okay, so thank you to Andy and to Lucy. But has anyone got any questions for anyone on the panel? No? Oh, Johnny. Johnny's got a question at the back there.
Thanks, folks. Yeah, it was a really interesting discussion. I think you mentioned before, Paul, that obviously From Andy's side and with the support of Deloitte and Lucy, that one of the key things was getting senior support to kind of make that transition. What was kind of one of the biggest challenges that you faced with that, Andy, and how did you navigate what I imagine is quite a difficult discussion to have with senior leaders to say we're effectively going to totally invert and change the way in which we report this up at board level to people?
Yeah, to be honest, it's not particularly challenging if you come at it with, you've obviously got a good business case behind the tool, and you're able to explain why this metric is actually more useful than the previous one, which is quite easy with Qualys. It's like the algorithm that's used, it's very obvious. It's using the base score, but it's using threat intel data. It's using your asset placement data, your prioritization, your critical business assets, whatever. That's quite an easy thing for the C-suite to understand. It's like, okay, I see how this risk is constructed. So actually, it wasn't too challenging. And then when we could see the score progressing down, that's like a win-win. So, yeah.
Anyone else? The question here, Gareth at the front.
Going to get my steps in today. Hi. I guess my question was for, I guess both was, were there any big changes that, like Deloitte recommended around, say, policy or process outside the technology?
Yes, I think I think being, within the managed service space, we have a lot of ideas and strategic opinions on, this is what we're seeing in the industry. These are sort of enhancements to the processes you have in place. So I think definitely small tweaks here and there, but nothing sort of hugely different coming in there with sort of the new toolings or anything like that. But I think obviously because we are so embedded throughout different parts of it, it's just making sure that everything is sort of aligning across. So if we're making changes to processes, that's sort of reflected in other areas. So whether it's threat intelligence or, SOC level. So yeah, I think just making sure it's all aligned.
I think in terms of the processes outside of the tool, as I've mentioned before, it's very important to get your infrastructure teams on board so they don't feel like you've just come along with this wonderful new magic bullet tool and you're just going to bomb them with a whole pile of tasks that they don't want. If you can bring them in, then they'll actually start to see the benefit to themselves. It's like they're not panicking like the whack-a-mole thing, they're not running around madly trying to patch everything. It's like, here's the stuff to focus on and this is the effect it will have. So, yeah.
Excellent, thank you, Andy. Anyone else? Okay, so I guess just final words. What I would say, like we've obviously had great success at Aberdeen. Andy works very closely with myself and obviously Deloitte in there to use out there, right, use your TAM as much as you can, okay? Use the resources that you've got. If you're in the partner program and you have a partner, maybe not with Deloitte, see what they can offer you, support. Often, like, before I joined Qualys, I was a customer of Qualys in the VM program, so probably where a lot of you guys are operating now. And I used to come to QSC, and it was great to hear stories like this or speak to my peers to see how they were progressing within there, so it would either give me new ideas when I went back or it would reaffirm what we were already doing within the security program I am. So I guess, like I say, if you're out there and you would like to speak to someone within your sector or just somebody who's using maybe one of our products that you are interested in, reach out to your TAM and we'll connect you together, we'll make sure that you can speak to them as much as speak to your TAM and to your partner, okay? So thanks everyone for your time. You have a quick?